They say there's no such thing as a silver bullet, a simple solution to a complicated problem. But that key card I got at NORAD, it represented something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Aside from the fact the man was about to give himself a hernia, I figured helping him might get me a ride. Need a hand? His name was Andrew Helm, and as luck would have it, he was heading all the way to the West Coast. Crossing the Rockies on foot would have taken months, so I gladly spent the next 6 hours filling all the ballonets in exchange for a ride.
What a godsend you are, Russell. My back is sore just from watching you. Every day is a journey, and the journey itself is home.
But it was more than just his home. Helm called himself a doctor, which wasn't entirely accurate. He was a biochemist before the fall, and with pharmaceuticals a rare commodity, he was hoping to corner the market on alternative medicines, something that ran him afoul of the cartel.
Do you know what those thugs said to me? They said that if I didn't work for them, my business would go the way of the Hindenburg.
And while his stories were entertaining, I was captivated by the view below. Over the Rockies, we passed a small community harvesting wind energy. And the Salt Lake? It had swelled into the city, creating a network of canals. But the most breathtaking sight, what Helm called the crown jewel of the West, was Lake City. It looked like utopia to me. Whole merchant districts floated on Lake Tahoe, servicing the residents all living on the water's edge. Helm said it was a closed community, like Seattle, cut off from the cartel, striving for self-sufficiency. Of course, Helm took a certain joy in the fact the residents couldn't seem to live without him.
Every city needs a man of my talents.
I wasn't thrilled to be stopping, but I was curious to see Lake City up close. Maybe this was the new paradigm for society after the fall.
Hello?
From above, I'd been seduced by Lake City's twinkle, but I was about to discover the old cliché was never more true.
Dead.
All that glitters isn't gold. Every man wears 1,000 masks, none so impenetrable as the mask of death. Looking into the face of that man, I didn't want to know the truth about him or how he might have died. All I wanted was to get back en route to San Francisco. Unfortunately, my ride had a different agenda.
Andrew Helm, PhDs in biology and...
Are you with the cartel?
Cartel? Surely you jest.
His name was Nick Gardner, member of what Lake City called the Circle Elite.
Look, this community is closed. No outsiders. You're not welcome here.
Well, someone in Lake City feels otherwise.
Nick, you know I would never do that.
You want to help? Then leave. And it better be before sunrise, or we'll be forced to take action.
I understood the desire to stay isolated. Law and order only seemed to work now in small, controlled environments. But at the same time, it was a shame. I felt like the rest of the world needed to see Lake City, see what was possible if people worked together. At least, that's what I thought until Andrea Gardner burst my bubble.
Glad you guys haven't left. Everything's all smiles around here, but something bad's happening.
Andrea explained how Lake City spent the last 2 years building their community into a safe haven. The Circle Elite took petitions from people who wanted to move here, but if you couldn't offer a valued service, you were turned away.
It sounds unfair, I know, but we're trying to make this the perfect community. Only it's not.
She confessed the innkeeper wasn't the first to die. In fact, there'd been several such deaths in the last 2 weeks.
I don't know who sent that flyer, because my husband and some other elites have kept this whole thing quiet. They don't want the community to panic. But I have to tell you, I'm panicking.
Rest assured, discretion is my middle name, and I'll be more than happy to investigate this matter in exchange for access to your helium supply.
Fine. Just figure out what's killing our people, please.
San Francisco was still about 2 weeks away on foot. By airship, I could be there in a day. So it was in everyone's best interest for me to help find answers.
Oh my God! I've never seen anything like this.
That's the problem when you start removing masks. Sometimes they only reveal a deeper mystery beneath. There's a fascinating concept in biology called the quickening. It's when a mother first feels movement in her womb, signaling the baby now possesses a life all its own. Besides a child, though, when any other life takes root inside you, it can literally eat your body alive.
Could be cancer, could be viral. Certainly nothing classified.
I mentioned the mutations I'd seen. All evidence, I felt, that the continual bombardment of electromagnetic energy was wreaking havoc on our planet.
Excellent point, Russell. I'm getting a very bad feeling about this.
Apparently, Nick had a bad feeling too. About Helm. He'd done some detective work of his own. Climbed aboard Helm's airship, found his store of alternative medicines.
I can already guess your scam. You kill off a few of us so you can fly in here and sell us your quack medicines.
Dare accuse me of murder? I only arrived here last night. How could I have infected these people?
Nick, please. Just let them test the bodies. Maybe they can find a way to stop this.
I'm sorry to say it, madam, but whatever killed these people, none of my quack medicines will stave off the epidemic that's awaiting your fine city.
Once again, I found myself playing peacemaker. I urged Nick to give Helm one more chance.
Everybody who's died was a friend and a neighbor. Don't we at least owe them a thorough investigation?
All right. You and Helm have 24 hours to present your findings.
I mentally prepared one of my big hot-button speeches for Helm. First, I was going to appeal to his large ego, tell him what an opportunity this was to build his reputation. If that didn't work, I was going to try guilting him to stay on the case. Tell him a good doctor would never walk away from dying patients. But to my surprise, no mind games were necessary.
That outburst was merely for show. I think I know what's killing these people. Take a look. It's algae from the lake. This whole city is literally swimming in it. That is why our friend Nick doesn't want us here. He's trying to cover up the truth about this place.
I was always terrible at math, but there's one concept I use a lot for problem solving: a lurking variable. When you've looked at a problem from every possible angle, but for some reason things still won't add up, somewhere hidden in the morass of possibilities, there's usually an angle nobody's seen yet. Trying to find that lurking variable is what took me down below Lake City, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Earlier that day, Helm presented his findings to the Circle Elite as requested. He told them that once the algae infects a person's body, it absorbs the water in their system, clogging their lungs and ultimately drowning the victim. Worse, the algae appeared to be impervious to any kind of treatment.
We'll clean the lake. Get rid of the algae.
It would take years to remove all the algae, and with the EMP still on, there was always a chance it could return.
Given all the evidence, my advice is to evacuate Lake City.
This is our home.
Look, what you've built is not just a city, it's a social philosophy, and that you can recreate anywhere.
I hate to say it, but the man's right. We need to discuss an evacuation plan.
Well done, my friend. Now, if you'll help me collect my helium, we can be on our way to San Francisco.
Tempting as it was to leave with Helm, something wasn't adding up for me. When I told Helm I was going to stay in Lake City, though, his sizable temper flared again.
Trying to undermine me, are you? Make me look like a fool?
I explained that wasn't my intention at all.
I hope you enjoy your walk. Every long mile of it.
What wasn't adding up for me was Helm's claim that the algae was so widespread. Just didn't make sense there weren't more fatalities. I asked the elite to walk me through everything. The blue lines were water feeds from the lake, but the red lines represented a geothermal steam system designed to keep them warm during the winter, and the 5 deaths fell right along one of the steam lines, which is how I finally found the lurking variable of the equation. Unfortunately, the real lurking variable had actually found me. Strange what you think about when you've got a garrote around your neck. Wish I could say it was some profound examination of my life, of my love for Janelle and Kizzy. The only thought I had was, this is not how I'm going to die. The algae was just a red herring, an EMP-induced phenomenon exploited by the person behind all the killings. Nick and Andrea had been searching the adjacent steam node when they heard all the commotion. Their theory was that the murderer had to be someone with a deep pathological grudge against Lake City. Fortunately, my assailant left a clue. A piece of his coat melted onto the steam pipe when I pushed him backwards. I recognized that material immediately. It belonged to the man Lake City trusted to save them, Andrew Helm. My mind started racing, replaying all Helm's lies. And clearly, he'd been here before. And that anonymous flyer asking for help? It had to be a hoax. More than anything, though, I wanted to know Helm's motive. So when I saw that Parthia group symbol, it sent me reeling.
Hastings should have killed you when he had the chance.
Helm left behind a ream of questions. Why would Parthia want to clear out Lake City? And why did Helm take away all those samples of the algae? For Nick and Andrea, it was all too much to comprehend. So I spared them the sordid details about Hastings and NORAD and the Pentagon cabal. I guess if there was a silver lining to the tragedy, it was Nick's new willingness to trust outsiders. A necessity, considering the algae was later discovered to be a highly nutritious and decent-tasting food source. In the end, stopping in Lake City was a mixed blessing. It brought me closer to the truth I was seeking, but it also brought the fourth horseman closer to me.